Okay. I forgot to put honey in here, but I'm not against it. I know I have some pretty sweet food, so I'm sure it will all balance out. It is Sunday. Sunday at 11, is it? No, it's already 1 p.m. I was looking at my phone clock right before filming this, so I should know. It is Sunday, 1:17 p.m. and I am in my studio apartment in LA. And such a big part of me did not want to show up today, and I'm here. Yes. Yes. I want to go visit the cats again later today around 6 o'clock. And I promised myself that if I get house stuff done, let me tell you, I started volunteering at like a cat cafe that is basically an adoption sort of agency-ish with it's an interesting and fun spin, right, on the whole cat cafe concept. And you can adopt these cats that they work with a kitten rescue, the local shelter, to rescue. And the cats that are at the cafe, this is really smart. This is the smart part. The cats that get to the cafe stage are not baby kittens, because those, haven't been dewormed. They have to go through all of these like tests and get neutered and all of these things. And then it's the teenagers. Once they get to the teenage stage of cat life, they're like kittens, but not baby kittens, they're not still feeding from the bottle or from the mama. They are not fully fledged cat adults yet. They are, all the stuff has been taken care of by the rescue. And then they go into the cat cafe, which helps them to socialize. A lot of these cats are so shy. They're so shy. And they appear quite well behaved, but that's because they're just terrified of humans because of what they experienced in the past. And so I've been volunteering there because I went, obviously I went to the cat cafe at first. It's not the first cat cafe I've been to. And why am I talking about cats? I don't know. It's just an icebreaker, guys. I'm not serious all the time, and I'm not the workaholic I used to be. But I'm pretty sure my workaholic brain is gonna make some weird connection and it's coming. I can feel it coming. My workaholic brain is gonna make some weird connection about how this is all related to acting. I think about this one LinkedIn post that I was a guest writer for some machine learning company, and I talked about how machine learning was like acting. And at the same time, it's not. It's very similar actually, but it's still different. Anyway, that may come back somewhere later in this video, who knows. So yes, the cats. I went to the cat cafe and I was like, oh my god, they're so cute. I started hanging out with them a little bit. And also I was terrified. I am quite terrified of animals and other humans anyway. You know, I'm like a recluse, I'm a hermit. Even if I don't look like it, I'm a hermit. I'm a recovering hermit. Yes, I'm a recovering hermit, okay? Let's make it active. I'm actively taking steps to form bonds with people and other forms of life. And I started with plants. I was really sad when I lost a plant. I don't know how it died after I tried to repot it, and she just didn't like the new pot. She liked her old pot. I know, it's depressing, but also I did kind of feel it was time. It's time to let the plant evolve. I don't know, spiritually. Yes, maybe I am just comforting myself somehow. You know, I don't know. But I had an African violet. I looked after her for like a year and a half. I tried to follow conventional wisdom that said, yeah, you're supposed to repot the plants after a year. So I tried to repot it. I don't know. I got a special pot just for her. I got special soil. And she died. It was so sad. So sad. Maybe I'll try again. Who knows? But I have another plant. It's doing really well. I'm looking at it right now. And I have a lavender. I have a whole table of plants. Should have listened to my gut. But also, I don't know. Because I did start feeling it was time for this plant to leave me. So, YOLO. Because if I cared that deeply about plants, just think, okay? I think I care even more about other humans, and even humans I didn't give birth to. you know? So what I learned is I need to listen to the thing I'm looking after. And yeah, maybe like from the outside, as a third party in that way, I can see the plant and its relationship to its environment, and I need to listen to it and what it tells me, what she wants. Because I did that for the kitties. Yes. So now going back to the kitties. I did that for the kitties. I don't know how, but I was looking after the kitties yesterday. Yes, yesterday morning. And I think, well, this is probably the third time I went to volunteer. And I've been to the cat cafe twice. So I think I've started, and mind you, my first shift volunteering was like the first time I've ever looked after kitties. And I thought about it, I was like, I think I'd rather learn how to look after a cat before fully like adopting it and taking responsibility for it, because that's just, can you imagine something happened to my cat and like I'm a first time owner, I don't know anything, I don't know F all, and it dies? I think I would be devastated, I'd be heartbroken. I want to die myself, you know, I want to join my cat. And that is crazy to say out loud, that I care so much about another life, another living being, you know, under my watch, you know. Wow. The stress of that hypothetical responsibility is already freaking me out. And so, but here's the thing that's kind of like giving me some hope. Yeah, I went to go look after the kitties, and yesterday morning, one of them was like hovering over this pillow. Yeah, so I'm doing a full deep clean of 2 of the litter boxes. You know, it's my first time ever doing like a real clean of the litter boxes. And yeah, I think it was actually a really good experience so far, because now, like, yeah, I know this is the basic minimum standard that I would put a cat through personally as well, you know. And I mean, I think this cat cafe, they do a lot more for the cats, for sure, 100%. But now I know, okay, these are the standards of what a clean cat environment should look like, should be like, what kind of food they should have, all of that. And I was sitting with the cats after, no, before we get there, okay, I'm doing a deep clean of the litter boxes with the kittens. Like, literally, I have cats coming in, going to poop 2 boxes down. I'm like, okay, it's fine. And also then I realized, oh, okay, this cat needs some like of that digestive clay, you know, in their cat food, which because I fed them before I went to clean the litter boxes. I went to feed them, and then I went to clean the litter, do a deep clean. So this is like swapping out all of the litter. I think it'd been a week or 2, or I don't know how long that litter had been in there, maybe, but it was due for like a clean. And I got really, I got a little OCD with it. Well, I don't know, maybe it's my standards of like cleanliness, because when I do a deep clean on something, it goes full out. Okay, I fully clean the whole thing. And I mean, I think that's why, like, even though I look at my apartment, it's quite a mess. But it's not dirty, you know? My apartment is a mess, and yet the surfaces are not sticky. And the surfaces that have been spilled, it's, you know, I do the upkeep, the maintenance that I do is to prevent sticky messes and residue, you know? But it's a mess. It is a mess. And I need to do something about this in my daily routine. But anyway, yeah, so I got really that deep into my litter box cleaning, okay? And then one little kitty comes and she's like, basically, I mean, the universe was telling me to take a damn break, Diana. Take a break. Well, she wasn't the only one, because another cat started climbing all over me when I didn't take a real break, you know? Because she started playing with me. She started coming up to me and be like, meow, like, looking at me and then trying to see what I'm doing. You know, she was like asking for my attention, and I was like, yeah, you know, I actually need a break. I haven't eaten I barely ate any breakfast, I think. And I think if I had continued going, I probably had passed out. So my food had come, my coffee was there, and she came up to me and she started playing with me. And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I actually do need a break. Like, I had cleaned everything out from the litter box, and there was still stuff stuck to it. And I was like, all right, we're gonna get rid of all of the sticky residue, get rid of it. You know, like I just, the clumps and stuff of like the litter that had turned, it basically felt like clay. It was not poop, I think. I think this is the stuff that comes from like pee, okay? Like cat pee. But I don't know. And water. Or hydration. I don't know. You know what I mean? And it was like stuck to the box. So I had really, you know, I sprayed the sanitizer spray. I was like, you know, like waiting for it to unharden so that I could clean the steel and get the steel clean. And then the little kitty, she came up to me and started playing with me, and I was like, yeah, actually I should let it rest. I should let it rest and play with my kitty. And then after I was, you know, I took a break and played a little bit, washed my hands. I was like 90% done with what I was, the task. And it was a nice break. And okay, that was like the start of my relationship with this little kitty called Gia, or Gigi. Apparently her nickname is also Gigi. Apparently she's the friendliest little kitten in the cafe. Oh, she's so cute. I think she's also one of the youngest, or the second youngest, or maybe she is the youngest, I don't know. But because like, okay, because then after that she was like out playing with like the cafe guests, and you know, I'd finished the task. So after I took this little break with little G, I went and washed my hands, you know, sanitized myself. Sorry, did I say desanitize earlier? I'm clearly half awake right now. Gosh, I'm so exhausted. And I'll talk about that later, like how much work I've been doing and my progress and my growth. But did I say desanitize? Why did I say that? I don't know. I sanitized myself, sanitized my hands. I went and ate my food for my breakfast. And then I went in, I was so exhausted because I fully did a deep clean and I refilled the boxes. And then I sat with the cats and I took a little break. I think I had like one more task I needed to do. And then little Gia, she was like in a little pillow, okay, there next to me. And there was another cat, Kuromi, who was like hovering over the pillow, hovering over her, and literally the death stare eyes. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, because then I tried to give Kuromi like a toy or a treat. She just would not pay attention to me. She was like so frustrated. And I was like, well, I know it's not with Gia. I was like, my gut was like, she wants the pillow. She wants to sit on this pillow. I can feel it. I can really feel it. I was like, she wants the pillow. That's why she's staring like that. I was like, oh my God, okay. And she was starting to like paw at Gia. And I was like, So I distracted Kuromi, and then Kuromi walked off. And I was like, well, what can I do? So then little Gia, I was playing with Gia again. And then I think she decided to do something else, right? Or I decided, I don't know. No, I got up. I got up and I went and finished a task because I had finished my break. And then Gia went off and played with some other guests. And then I saw Kuromi come into the pillow and I was like, yep, I knew it. I was like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. So then, I mean, Gia couldn't go back to the pillow. So, but I don't think she wanted a pillow, but she just didn't know which pillow to go to at that point. Yeah. So she just walked around, played with little guests, played with the other little kitties. And then, what did I do? I was like, okay, well, let's go socialize some of the cats in the back. There was this one big cat. Well, by big, I mean he was older than the other kitties. He was like 1.5 years maybe. He felt like he was around 1.5 years. Gia's like 6 or 7, 8 months. 7 months maybe, 6, 7, I don't know. 6 to 8 months. And then, so I started playing with the cat in the back, he was like hiding between the 2 cages on this plastic, thick sort of plastic sort of surface separator, like a mat that would keep the surface clean. I think it was because it was like the cages themselves were too cold. There was like a metal surface, and that metal surface would be way too cold for the cats. So they put, and also like, I think it was a cleanliness thing. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was probably a cleanliness thing, but both. So they put this like plastic mat, and this cat was like hiding there, and I was like, why is he hiding? He's the only one here. So I started playing with him. I was like, well, there are so many people out there who are waiting to meet you, you know? And my gut feeling was that he was gonna go out in the afternoon after he felt more comfortable, but he was like super overstimulated because there were so many people in the cafe. It was Saturday morning, so like a weekend morning is like actually really busy at the cafe. I didn't realize because I was cleaning out the litter boxes, so I didn't know how many people were out there in the cafe itself. But the staff told me that it was super busy like that day. So I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, because around midday, I think it started to there were a lot of people, and then more and more cats were coming to the back, like 3 of them. They were so tired. And they started getting scared of the feet of people walking, you know? I was like, oh my gosh, this is so sadly cute. You know? Cute with a tinge of sad. Because I had finished by this point around like midday, like 1 p.m. I I finished my task around 12:30, and you know, took out the trash of the dump of the litter that we switched out, and I refilled the boxes. I finished feeding the cats and stuffs, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm so tired. I don't think I could do anything. Like, I was just so exhausted. I needed to just sit, right? And then I was like, okay, let me play with the little kitties. And then I was trying to help socialize this cat. And then 3 or 4 more kitties, like Gia, started coming up to me and like crawling around my legs. And I was like, oh, I don't know if you're trying to mark me as your territory here, or you want my attention, or both, or you want me to play with you as well. And so I was like, okay, well, I think it was both. Did she just claim me as her owner? Potential owner? She's like, back off, this woman is mine. I did sort of get that. And now I'm saying it out loud, I get the vibe. She's like, this woman is mine, stay away. I don't know. Anyway, I play with both of them. And this is what I realized, I think. I realized that, like, yeah, gut feelings are not invalid forms of logic, and intuition, gut feelings, like, in my opinion, after, you know, my path in acting recently and really delving deeply into the work, it's come to me. I realized that my intuition, my gut feelings, these are an accumulation of all of the things that my senses have picked up that the logic has not logicked yet. But the brain has the brain knows. The brain knows. Just because the analytical departments of your brain have not put into words and some sort of mathematical, like algebraic logic that X deduces to Y, or some theorem has not yet had its proof, does not mean that those forms of knowledge are invalid. Because this is where hypotheses and assumptions come from, right? This area, this side of your body, like intuition and gut feelings. And in my opinion, it's the subconscious sort of taking stock of everything that my body and my nose and my ears and my eyes and my sense of taste and, you know, touch, all of these 5 literal senses. The brain forms deductions. It forms a hypothesis. And I applied some scientific method to it as well. You know what I mean? Because I didn't just assume and like say this is law, this is a rule, a law of physics or whatever. I watched the cats. I was like, well, my gut was like, oh, she wants the pillow. And now that I look at it, I'm like, look at what I saw, like look at myself and look at this. And I'm like, yeah, it's because I tested it, you know? Like I tried to give her a toy. I tried to I thought she was fighting, you know, on the surface, it looked as if she was trying to fight with this cat. or she was annoyed with the cat, but it wasn't the cat. It was because her objective was to get the pillow. Do you hear the acting talk coming out now? Objectives and tactics. And one of the tactics was to get rid of the cat that was lying on the pillow that she wanted, you know? And in summer, I went and did a Chekhov intensive in New York. And the master class that we had 4 days a week was with this man, teacher, actor. Well, yeah, I mean, predominantly we are all actors. I think that's why I really love my studio. It's like everyone is firstly an actor. Excuse me. My teacher's he was called Pete, and we did Three Sisters by Anton Chekhov, and he assigned me this scene with Irina and Tusenbach. Apparently it's really famous. I didn't know. Okay, I went into this program thinking like Chekhov is like the only playwright I've never like done any work related to, I'm not known of. And also I grew up in Singapore, and I would never get access to this kind of education on this particular work anywhere else in the style of Adler technique that was basically built off of what she learned in person with Stanislavski in Russia when she was physically there. You know what I mean? So I was like, this is my golden opportunity as an actor to truly live in this technique. And what I love about this teacher and his way of explaining and teaching was that he made it so accessibly doable, you know? Because actors use big phrases like objectives and actions and tactics, and what's the difference between a tactic and an action, and different schools will argue and debate about what they mean all the time. It was very frustrating for me when I still hadn't found the technique that works for me, you know, when I hadn't found my own process and started developing my own process, which actually is what the school encourages us to do now, is to develop our own processes, right? Like, I was learning all these techniques, and I was like, tactic means something here, and it means something entirely different to another group of people. I was like, just whatever, you know? I was like, why are we intellectualizing and analyzing, analyticking the word? And the funny thing is, he never actually uses, even if he used the word, after he defined it, he's like, okay, let's make it doable. Let's actually do it. In the body, like from your body. And with this, in the scene with Irina and Tusenbach, okay. Oh yeah, I posted it. Yeah, I posted it on my YouTube, on my Facebook. No, Facebook's Instagram. Sorry, on my Instagram, on my YouTube, and on my TikTok. The little hermit in me has been so whatever. I have a strange relationship with technology at the moment. And what did I do? I did not know I was going to talk about this today. I just followed my gut. But I'm prepared. I know what I have to share. And in this scene, it's in the final act of Three Sisters. And for those of you who don't know it, for those of us who are new to it, it is the scene where Tusenbach, well, Irina is the driver of the scene. Even if Tusenbach drives the beats in the scene, Irina is the instigator and she's the closer. That's how my partner and I discovered it between ourselves. Anyway, other people may have it differently. This is my interpretation, okay? So Irina, essentially, does she force him? In a way, she pulls it out of him. She pulls it out of him because he went in there. Yeah, he goes in there like knowing he's probably going to die. He goes in there knowing he's probably going to die, you know? And this duel, the probability speaking, the chances are extremely high that this man who has won every duel he's been in is gonna kill him. So he's about to go to a duel to prove that he's the best man for Irina. I don't know. Male logic sometimes takes some time for me to like understand sometimes as a person with estrogen in my body as the predominant hormone. I'm like, oh, like in what world, in which world, even after the guy gets spoiler alert, I guess, for people who don't know the play, but this is a huge scene in the play. Even after the man is killed by his duel opponent, Irina does not get together with the guy who killed him. Like, what? Irina's like, I think I'm gonna, my interpretation is Irina's kind of like, I think I have to go to Moscow myself. I think that's the only way I'll ever get to Moscow is if I go there by myself. That's, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, so, but Irina is the one who pulls it out of him because she's like, why are you acting so strange? Why are you being so weird today? And this scene was so complex for me. It was I got really deep in my process with the scene. You know, I was like, I told Pete, I was like, I think I might lose myself in the work, and it's freaking me out. He gave me some really good advice and tips, and you know, like the thing with actors is nobody can tell you what to do. They can sort of ask questions that help you figure it out for yourself. And that's what I wanted to say about his style of teaching, is that he asks the questions that are actually really like, he's not the only teacher I've had who's been really good at this, I have to say. But it's that they ask the helpful questions, insightful and incisive questions, you know? And one of the things for me that really stressed me out about this scene was because Irina goes in saying, I know something is not right. And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to play that? Like, what are you talking about? And then after the scene concludes, she says, when the next time we see her is like, she finds out he's dead, and the first thing she says is, I knew it, I knew it. It's not that she knew that he was gonna die, but she knew that something dreadful and horrible was gonna happen. She knew. And then I was like, this is a gut feeling thing. Well, I was talking to Pete, I was like, I know this is a gut feeling thing. I know. And then he was like, okay, well, how does she know? And at first I was like, what do you mean, how does she know? What? What do you mean, how does she know? What do you mean? How does she know? It's in the text, brah. Like, what? Okay, anyway. And I was like, that is the magic of Chekhov. That is the magic of Chekhov. He's writing a woman with so much empathy. You know, there's this like popular interview of Meryl Streep talking about how women, we dream in the language of men. We live the language of men. And, well, she said that, and that men don't, well, I mean, I'm paraphrasing now, I think. Most men don't speak women as language. You know, like, it's like she well, firstly, she set it up as though, like, the context of this an analogy and this context of the metaphor is that the way to know that you're truly bilingual is when you start dreaming in the other language that you learn and you know. So like for example, I've dreamed in Chinese. And I didn't start having Chinese dreams, at least the ones that I remember, until I was like 26, 27. So yeah, English is my first language. Okay, I dreamed in English since I was a kid. And I didn't start dreaming in Chinese until I was like 26. Maybe the only other times I've ever dreamed in Chinese is like when I'm dreaming of my grandma speaking in Cantonese. But the only time I started speaking Chinese in my dreams when I was 26. Like, how wild is it? And also, here's the other thing. There was a really strange moment in one of my dreams when it was in Chinese, and then I started speaking English, and it went back to Chinese, and I was like, yeah, well, YOLO. Cursed by Sir Stamford Raffles. If you're not a Singaporean, well, no, if you are a Singaporean and you don't know what I'm talking about, I need to question you. Have you been on the what area of the internet are you living on? Anyway, for non-Singaporeans, Sir Stamford Raffles. I don't even want to give him more time in this video, so he's just another British man. He only spent 5 years in my home country, okay? 5 years of his life. And we celebrate him 200 years later. Okay, that is the level of audacity that I need, okay? Segue. That's the level of audacity that I need as an actor. Okay, can you imagine? some white man come to this land, okay, this land that my people were brought to, or they ran to, or I don't know. Well, Chinese people have been on that land before the British, and they were intermarrying, some of them were converting. They were with the Malays even before a lot of them became Muslim, I think. And then they were there through the transitional period when Islam became more popular with the Muslims and with the Malays who became Muslim, converted. I don't. Anyway, and then that's when we started seeing the Chinese Puranicans, right? The ones who had intermarried with Malays but did not want to convert to Islam. That being said, there are a lot of Muslims in China who are freely and openly Muslim. So it's only I think in Singapore that we don't associate Chinese people with Islam, but there's not actually that big of a separation. It's just that the group of people who were here, they just wanted to eat pork lah, okay? They just could not give up the pork. I'm telling you. You ask a Southern Chinese to give up pork, it must be crazy. Ask a Cantonese person to give up pork, or a Hakka person to give up pork. Wow. That's like 80% of the food we cannot eat anymore. They just cannot eat 80% of their Chinese food. So they don't want to give up pork. Anyway, why did I go there? I blame it on Sir Stamford. See what he did? That was just my opinion, by the way. I don't actually know why they didn't want to convert this. I don't know. But can you imagine if it was for such a... It could actually just be because of that reason. Like such a stupid and simple reason. And it's not stupid, it's human. So much Chinese food has pork. I think we're in love with pigs and pork. I think my xiaolongbao, my pork vinegar, pork knuckles in vinegar with eggs, dude. That's like the best food when you are on your menstrual cycle, when you are postnatal, recovering from pregnancy. Pork in vinegar with ginger and egg, hard-boiled eggs, usually. So good. Anyway. This leads back to the scene. This leads back to acting, actually. Because yeah, in the scene with Irina, the moment before. So I established the moment before and I was like, well, how does she know? So my teacher, Pete, asked me, how does she know? Like, how does she know? And at first I was like, what do you mean, how does she know? Like, I was like, mildly offended at myself. You know what I mean? I was mildly offended at the tech bro in me. As the tech bro in me was like, of course she doesn't know. The tech bro in me, she was like, there's no logical conclusion. This is just some spurious assumptions and guesses that she's making. I was having a whole internal debate and a war, okay, with the Patagonia wearing tech bro that I had absorbed from my years in Silicon Roundabout. I had to cut the gas to the gaslight of the tech bro that was living in me. Like, stop gaslighting me, bro. And I was like, it's in the text, Diana. I started telling the tech bro self, it's in the text. So I read the text. Look at the moment before. Irina wakes up that day in Act 4. Act 4. Soldiers are leaving. She wakes up and she knows something is wrong. Like, something. It's not just that the soldiers are leaving. She's not feeling sad. Because let's be frank, her sister's lover is leaving, a whole bunch of guys are leaving. Sure, like the social scene of the town is gonna be so quiet and dead after these people leave. Yeah, maybe. But she's not Lydia or Kitty from Pride and Prejudice, okay? Irina is not one of those girls. She does not live for the soldiers. She's kind of the center of attention, in a way, because she's such a social butterfly with them, even though she's literally so depressed. But I think one of her first lines in this act, not just the scene, the act. I haven't touched the book since the summer program, so this is all off my whatever memories in there, okay? One of her first lines is that she woke up. I woke up this morning feeling like a sense of dread in my gut, like in her stomach. You know, when people have butterflies in their stomach? But the opposite of that, sense of dread in her stomach. The next thing she talks about substantially in this act, Act 4, is she's asking Collegan, what happened? So, because Collegan's talking to the doctor, I think, about Tussenbach and the Baron, and what happened at the theater the night before. So she already knows. She's already hearing the little nuggets of information, you know? Just like how I knew that this cat wanted the pillow and their objective was to get the pillow. Because I could see it in the way they carried themselves, in their behavior. And in their attention, the object of their focus. Am I spilling too many secrets? YOLO. So she heard it. She heard two men talking about her boyfriend. She knew her boyfriend was being weird all morning, all day. So she heard. That something was not normal, not right with him that day and the night before. She tells him, "You've been acting strange ever since you came back from the theater. What happened?" And my hypothesis, as a regular human being, I guess, is that her stomach started to feel like it's turning because she could not reconcile the changes in his behavior that happened so suddenly after the challenge for the duel was set. And so she says, the end of the act, I knew it. Because she knew that something was happening behind her back. And this is how she finds out. The doctor finds out, comes back, he tells her older sister, her eldest sister, and then her eldest sister breaks the news to her. And that is how I know she knows. Yeah. That's wild. It's wild because I read the scene and I was like, I know exactly this moment. I know this moment. And I've had these feelings before. You know, I had the feeling, okay? Yeah, like the morning my first boyfriend broke up with me. My first and only ex-boyfriend broke up with me. How old was I? My second year of university in the UK. The morning he was going to break up with me, I woke up and I felt my heart on the floor. I don't know why, I just knew that something was going to happen today. I had like such a bad heartbreak, honestly. I think I was depressed for like a full week. And now that I think about that time, I was like, well, yeah. And I was like, call it women's intuition, call it whatever you want. But that is a valid human experience. That is part of the human experience. And for Chekhov to write that so eloquently in this play is why, like, you know, it's almost like he was dreaming in the language of women. And that's kind of why I love Chekhov so much, I'm not gonna lie. Because, like, I think about that interview that Meryl Streep it was a panel she was on, and she said, you know, yeah, as women we have grown up speaking the language of men, dreaming in the language of men. And when I fully understood, when I was given the scene and I did the work for the scene, I was like, this man dreams not just the language of men, but the language of women too. He's writing a full human. That is what I think, in my opinion, distinguishes great writing from good, technically correct, whatever writing. It's the specificity in the word and, not just giving a woman a scene that is like how I imagine a woman would talk, or how a man might think that women might find power in themselves, but actually letting the character be and transcribing the human that is and can be there. All right, okay, I think do I want to talk about it? Yeah, let's just talk about it. All right, so I need to update my Ko-fi page, and I've thought about this a lot. I might as well just say it here, right? Diana, just get it over with. Say it, say it, say it, say it. Okay, so one big question that my family, that society, that the world seems to keep wanting to ask me and people like me is like, how are you gonna make money as an actor? Well, I'm just gonna keep acting. I just spent, I don't know, probably the last hour. Yeah, it's been 1 hour since I started hitting record on this video. And I just spent the last 1 hour talking about life and acting. And now I'm gonna go post this on the internet so that people can absorb what it means, the process of acting. You know, I talked about, okay, here are the technical terms. I talked about the moment before. I talked about specificity in the text. I talked about how to play gut instincts on stage. Chekhov gave me a gem, a gift of a character. And I did it. I played her. You know, you can see the scene. You can go watch the scene on my channel if you like, and whatever, like or dislike it, I don't care. What people like have, like, whether or not they like or dislike it, you know, I did my best. I did the work. I'm sharing the homework part of it. This is not even the full, I didn't even know I was going to talk about, Irina, but I did. So there, c'est la vie. You know, I am here. I'm here. And I talk about a lot of acting technique. I mean, I talked about actions and verbs and tactics. I mean, you can. There's so much more that I can actually, from that one scene, not just that scene. Okay, here's the thing, because I did the scene on stage. I can talk about so much more with this scene. I can talk about the staging of it. I can talk about the film version of it and how we did it for the camera. That was so different, and there's so much vocabulary that is, and in terms of like jargon and like ways of thinking about things and technical stuff that is so different on camera than it is from on stage. And I can keep talking about that, you know, because I have to thank one of my sisters, because she's like, what about being an influencer? And I was like, if I'm gonna be a quote-unquote influencer, I can be an actor with influence. I'll just talk about acting online, bruh. You know, like what do act like especially if I want to keep doing stage acting, like, what is the behind the scenes stuff? You know, what is the actual things that people don't get to see, you know? Like, because social media is not, like, if the product is a stage performance, it's a live performance that's different every single night, and you see a group of people telling a story in a different, fresh way every single night and keeping it alive in person, that product is entirely different from what I'm doing with you guys right now on the internet. Like, this is an entirely different experience, and it's entirely different from seeing a movie in the movie theaters. Like, I'm filming this for this medium with this device. High back camera, 0.5 wide angle, in front of Diana's tatami mat that I got off Temu. In an apartment in LA that I don't know how long I'm going to be living here for, and my God knows I'm going to be living here for the next few decades at least. This may be my artistic home. I think it is. Yeah. You heard it here first. So yeah, I thought about it and I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to keep doing. I have a couple of social media accounts and I just talk about acting and life and whatever I feel like talking about. I think I'm literally such a stage actor because I'm so deep in the text. I get obsessive over plays, and life is a stage and men and women are merely players. They don't even know where all this is coming from. Anyway. Because yeah, also, yeah, I thought about it. I was like, for example, okay, I'm not going to talk about whether or not I like or dislike her actual music too much. I mean, okay, my perspective is that this woman's music, I get it. I'm not always in the mood for it. And her mood of music is my mood of music is very like somber, classical arias, okay? Like Carmen. L'amour est un oiseau rebelle. Love is a rebellious bird. Anyway. But when I am occasionally in the mood for her music, I get it. Even without, I love it. I love it. I love it when I'm in the mood. When I'm not in the mood, I don't play it. Full stop. However, okay, yeah, because I'm not like a super huge fan. I'm also not an anti-fan. I'm not a hater. I'm not a lover or a hater of her. I'm a human being who sees another human being when I look at her. Now, some of you may know by this point who I'm talking about. But yesterday I don't know how. After I volunteered at the Cat Cafe, I was like, you know what, let's go to the Grove. I haven't been to the Grove in a year, in LA, because I'm on the money saving student life budget. F1 student life, yay. No, I need to get me out of this F1, please. Give me a proper visa. Give me a good visa, please. Anyway. Like, how did I go from tier 1 British global talent visa to not being able to work? Legally. But at the same time, I appreciate God for showing me how to survive without working. And showing me that I was actually a super workaholic and I worked too much from the age of 15, even when I didn't need to. Insane. Anyway, and I burnt myself out because I was overworking, and sometimes I need to actually, yeah, like today, this is a progress for me, okay? This is progress for me. instead of just talking to you fully in the camera about work all the time, you know, if it doesn't feel like I'm working, it means I've improved. I've improved in my life as a increasingly public facing actor. But yeah, I actually managed to eat. I think a year ago I would have done this whole video and not eaten or touched anything. But I made some small talk. I talked about life. I ate my food. I drank my coffee, and we still got the work done. Work that I did not know I was gonna do. It's Sunday. It's Sunday, and my artist brain is still like, let me create for fun. Fun, you know, the play has found me. But yesterday I stumbled upon Taylor Swift's watch party. Is that what it's called? I don't know what it was called, but it was like a party for her new album. Quote unquote party. That's how the product was labeled. It was a 1 hour, 1.5 hour sort of behind the scenes movie about how she created this album and her intentions for each song. Well, how she created this music video for one of the songs from her album. Like, it's the only music video that she created for this song, and then interlaced with her perspectives and her inspirations for each of the songs in her new album. So it was basically a behind the scenes documentary. And I'm talking about film terms and yeah, film and camera, like entertainment like working industry jargon. I think that was basically what she did. It was a documentary interspersed with lyric videos and her tracks. Because first we saw the music video, then we saw the behind the scenes footage of the music video, and then it concluded with the music video again. But by the time you got there, she'd explained every single one of her 12 tracks in the album and what inspired her to write it. And then by the time we saw the music video again, it's like, oh, I can see why she directed it this way. I can see her references in the music video, and I can see why she wrote these songs. And every single line in her songs was true to her. You know, you can debate, you know, people have all sorts of opinions about Taylor Swift's latest album, and like I said, I'm not a lover or a hater. I'm just a human being who occasionally enjoys her music at times. I mean, it's kind of like Hokkaido milk bread. I wrote this on a YouTube comment somewhere. I was like, I've always sort of seen her as Hokkaido milk bread, okay? Some people call her milk toast, okay? But you know, there's a whole prefecture in Japan that is known for creating really good milk bread. And this is the style of bread making. And I love it. I don't hate it. You know, some people hate it, some people love it, but this is their signature bread. They do it well. Let them do it. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. But what I was like, okay, you know, I've been super inspired by her approach to the whole process of being known and becoming a celebrity and becoming more of herself, you know. And I can see, okay, like, even if I don't, you know, when I first heard the album, I was not in the mood for it, okay? I was like, well, I'm not going into the cinema, you know, like, I heard on YouTube. I was like, well, okay, I don't get it yet. I was like, well, whatever. I went into the cinema being like, I just want to learn from her and what she sees about life, you know? And as she was talking about it, I was like, every single line in your writing is incredibly specific. It's true, and you know what you're talking about. So when you sing it, I can hear it. You know, I can hear the images in your head. And it's like an acting thing, because here's another acting technique. When an actor is very clear on exactly what they are seeing in the character's shoes, even if it's whatever sense memory from Strasbourg technique that they pulled out of their own life, but when they match the image to the words, that is the most powerful. Yeah, that's how people look at him, like, that's a good actor. I don't see the actor, I see the character. Okay, yeah, because the actor is just a vessel at that point. And so yeah, I sat there and was like, I am glad that I got to know her music and this album in this way, because now I know what human experiences she is talking about and she's referring to. You know, this is her lived experiences in a song, in songs. And that is why she is so known. She has let herself be known. That's what fame is defined as in the dictionary. Technically speaking, how does one accumulate the resource of being known? It's to let themselves be known. Why is it, I never knew it was so simple on paper. When you read about these things in books, it all seems terribly silly and predictable. But when you fall in love yourself, when you fall in love yourself, you realize nobody knows anything. And everyone has to figure it out for yourself. You realize that nobody knows anything, and that everyone has to figure it out for herself. So I don't know if I remember that line, or if I said that line accurately, but it just reminded me of Masha's monologue from the same play, Three Sisters by Anton Chekhov, and how, you know, why I picked this monologue, why I love this monologue. Nobody knows what they're talking about. That's my favorite line in the whole play. When you fall in love yourself, you realize nobody knows what they're talking about, and everyone has to figure it out for herself. That's what living and acting and falling in love, verbs, physically doing, taking actions in real life as people, that's what it's like. People can say whatever they want about their opinions about where you're at, like me and my poor little African violet that I thought needed a new pot, but she wanted her old pot, and I deprived her of that comfort. She was really comfortable in that pot. I could have just upgraded the pot. I don't know. It is what it is. Now I know. Now I know. Because I think about, here's another thing I think about right now. I met a lady. She met a lady in this community event recently that was organized by a community garden. And she told me that she and her boyfriend, her partner, I don't know what stage they are in their relationship. I only met her that one time. I'm sorry. I remember her name though. But anyway, I met her at this event, and she was telling me about how she and her partner, they received this plot in the community garden that I'm on the wait list of, and they like what did they do? They wanted to plant something else, but then they discovered about how like I'm not a gardener yet, but they discovered something in the bed, the plant bed, that I think it's like a disease or a weed or something. Basically, they had to clean it all out. They had to do the whole thing again. And then they wanted to plant something else, but then they realized there was too much sun and all of that. So now they figured out some tomatoes, I think, if I remember correctly, figured out that they were going to plant tomatoes, and now they have beautiful tomatoes or something like that. But but I think about this because you can read every single book you want about gardening, but then when you actually get the plot and you are in real life and actually doing something, and nature is naturing, the world is worlding, the final produce, not even just the product, the produce itself is an organic co-creation of us, the human being, the environment, and God. Did I just explain 天地人和? I think I did. In Chinese, we have this idiom called 天地人和. It's used by a lot of feng shui. And not just feng shui, but like atas people, okay? I don't know. Literati in China, Chinese. You know, when these things are in alignment, that is when things happen. Stuff is done. Money is made. Because you can't just apply Western concepts of capitalism onto a culture of people who have gods of wealth and who see money as a form of coming from the earth. You know, we had bronze coins, we had metal, you know, we had gold and silver ingots. That is how we saw money. And then we had the paper money, but those were just like representations of the gold and the silver coming out of the earth. Okay. Anyway, it's in the language, it's in the culture, and words like capitalism or socialism or whatever, communism, are not sufficient to this. They're like a different worldview entirely in the English language with European roots and European perspectives. And I don't know why I brought that up, but because it illustrates the point. When you read about these things in books, it all seems terribly silly and predictable. But when you fall in love with yourself, when you actually go out and live in the world, you realize nobody knows what they're talking about, and everyone has to figure it out for themselves. Because Masha's talking about herself as well, you know, when she says that. She was in a marriage with Khaligan that she thought he was so amazing and awesome, and then she fell out of love with it. She realized she loved the idea of him. And even her whole thing with Vershianen, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced. He's like 40, brah. He's like twice her age. It's literally because she's stuck in a town, a village, on a military pension when her family literally used to be so wealthy and known in Moscow, and they were having the time of their lives when their father was alive and he had all this prestige and money and respect, and they were in the city. And now the father is dead, and now she's stuck in this town, and literally the most interesting person that she's met is some 40-year-old man who doesn't know how to get away from his wife and blames his wife for so many things, and how he's so depressed, and he has 2 daughters and he cares for them. Okay, but she fell in love with him, and that is a valid form of love, and I'm still not convinced that this is the best love for her. You know what I mean? I'm not convinced that she won't be able to do better. 5 years later, you know, like, but then again, I'm looking at this. Yeah, I'm looking at her with eyes in 2025. And humanity, we have made so much progress since those times. Yeah, like my boyfriend's not gonna, I hope not, I don't know, at least not right now. No, yeah, no, I do, okay, I do see men challenging each other over women still, but they're not gonna call duels on each other anymore. That's for sure. That's for sure. I mean, I don't know, there probably are still parts of the world where that still happens, and that is still gonna happen, but it's not the norm, not anymore. And so yeah, like I look at him like, yeah, it's a form of love. C'est la vie. And yet her words are so true, right? When you fall in love yourself, when you discover life for yourself, you realize that everyone has to figure it out for themselves. People can only tell you what is true for them. But we have to find our own truth and our own authenticity. And I struggled with this word authentic a lot because a lot of people use it without actually really truly fully knowing what it means. When I think of the word when I looked up, oh my goodness, I did some etymology research. I went and looked up the word, and I was like, oh, okay, it comes from the word authentication and like signatures. When you have your own signature, it's true to you. And when I thought of it from that perspective, like, what is true for me and true to me, not just some universal truth. That's when the word authentic went from some figurative concept into an actionable choice. Yes, I did just make another acting lesson right there. Did I? Am I sharing my notes now? Yeah, I'm sharing my notes with the internet. These are things. Yeah, this is my welcome to my acting notebook. That is kind of what I want to say. So I'm gonna keep doing these. I'm gonna keep sharing my acting notebooks online on social media, because I know I'm not the only one. Like, I saw there's this professional ballet dancer I've seen quite a bit of content from, and what she does is she shares the behind the scenes of her life as a ballerina. So you actually get to see her taping up her foot. The imperfection. It's a bit like, was Degas? Is that the painter? The French impressionist who painted the ballet dancer with her shoe. It's like the behind the scenes of what she's actually doing, because when you actually go and see her on stage, it's like, that is the product. That is the product. And now you get to see the behind the scenes of what she's doing. And that is the kind of content I do feel that is more internet friendly, like social media style, because social media is social. Anyway, I don't know I have no idea where it's all gonna lead me, but all I know is I'm just gonna keep acting, and until the day